Good to see you back with us for more Explore Tulsa. If you've lived in Tulsa for any length of time, you probably have a family member or a friend that has worked at QuikTrip.
That's true, Stevie. Now, who do you know?
Well, my father-in-law actually worked at the first store.
Wow.
Not trying to date you, Dad. Also, my son did one summer, and then my stepdaughter still does.
When Video Revolution was located at 56 in Lewis, that too used to be a QuikTrip at one time.
And with Voices of Oklahoma's John Erling, we hear Mr. Cadieux tell the story of QuikTrip's beginnings.
Well, for our interview with Chester Cadieux and the story of QuikTrip, we met in their corporate offices in their beautiful campus in East Tulsa. It's very, very nice. And when you see that campus, and then you listen to Chester talk about how it all began, I mean, it really becomes a pretty amazing story. And the story begins with Chester's friend, Bert Holmes. And remember now, at the time, Chester is chasing all over town as a printing salesman.
Well, Bert Holmes and I, Bert Holmes started QuikTrip. I mean, he had raised some money. He had asked 2 or 3 other people if they would like to be the president of QuikTrip and work the night shift and, get started and all that sort of thing. And all of them had better jobs than I did, and they didn't want to do that, and I just jumped on it. I mean, it was like, because I had these rules. I had the rules that it had to be simple, because I didn't know anything. Had to be low cost, because I didn't have any money. And I didn't like competition, because if you're a printing salesman, everybody in the world had a printing press in their garage. I mean, that was a dog-eat-dog business, and I didn't want to get into something that, that was real tough competition because you couldn't survive. And here comes Bert. Duh. But at least it wasn't dirty, And
that's when he said you can get in for $5,000.
Yeah, and I talked to my dad, and my dad,
Did
he thought I was crazy, but he loaned me $5,000.
Well, now, today, we see all the state-of-the-art QuikTrip convenience stores in our town. But I'm telling you, that's been a journey over time. And what I want you to do is listen to Chester talk about the very first QuikTrip store. It was in 1958, and it was located at 53rd and Peoria.
It was horrible. We had used fixtures because that was cheap. We had used frozen food boxes that Birdseye must have invented. I mean, they were clank, 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 clank. They were they were terrible. The whole store was terrible. The cooler was too small. It was a joke. It was a fairly good location over time because that was sort of the end of Tulsa. There were some stores out beyond there, and I'd worked that area as a Fuller brush man. But it was really slow. And they closed the road in front of the store going into winter, which is the wrong time of year.
Well, anyone living in Tulsa in the 70s will surely remember QuikTrip and their advertising campaign. I mean, it featured a dog, and the dog's name was Lamar. And Lamar became a name in town. I mean, he'd be invited into schools, into bars, presentations of all kinds. And you'll recall that in the TV commercial, he would ride in a pickup. And so Chester tells us about Lamar.
Well, it was just fun, and the cowboy always had Lamar with him in his pickup truck. And Lamar couldn't go in the store, but he'd get Lamar a sandwich. And he always talked about QuikTrip to Lamar, and then he'd say, "Ain't that right, Lamar?" And Lamar would go, "Woof!" And this was this shaggy dog who wasn't a breed. He was a shaggy dog. People loved Lamar, and they loved the cowboy. He was a great dog and smart. He was smart, and he had a trainer in New York. He did a lot of commercials. He did dog food. He did soap. He did all sorts of stuff.
Now, of course, QuikTrip is a great neighbor, as everybody knows, to our community, and they made major investments in Tulsa, where it all began. And then they have given liberally back to this town, which has been so good to them. And one of those investments, many of us drive by every single day, is at 41st and Riverside Drive. Your QuikTrip Park, I will call it, at 41st and Riverside. Such a nice spread there and highly used. You've seen it. I've seen it myself.
I've been blown away by the way it's been used.
I've taken my granddaughter there several times.
Yeah.
Probably used more than maybe you anticipated. It seemed to me. The parking lot's always full.
It is. But we knew fountains worked. We knew that kids running through fountains and so forth was fun. And I used to have to run through a sprinkler. So think how much.
Right. What a ride it's been for you.
Yeah. It's better to be lucky than smart.
Better to be lucky than smart? Well, in the case of QuikTrip, it's been both luck and a lot of smarts that has made this company grow. And QuikTrip, as you know, has been recognized as one of Fortune magazine's 100 best companies to work for since 2003. All of us here in Tulsa are very, very proud of QuikTrip.